Nora Speaks is a weekly podcast that tugs at the soul and consciousness of the Black community. With show topics such as youth empowerment, education, women's impact, and civic engagement, Nora Speaks challenges the listener to not only join the movement, but be the movement. On the show, you'll learn from insightful guests who have demonstrated capacity in these fields and more, and I'm your host, Nora Muhammad. Welcome to the show. Welcome to another episode of the Nora Speaks podcast, and I'm your host, Nora Muhammad. Thanks for joining me for another episode of the show. And before I hit record for this episode, I really was thinking about how much I enjoy creating this podcast and sharing this information. And I really, one would hope that the message that's shared here is appreciated and has value to those who listen, enough value for you to share with others. But I must say that as the host of this show, I am very proud of it, and I'm very grateful to have the opportunity and to have the words of wisdom that have been given to me to share with others. Because as I come to the microphone and I share episodes week after week, I am not the author of any wisdom. I am a student of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. I'm a student of the Bible. I'm a student of the Holy Quran. I'm a student of life. I'm a student of those great men and women who have been in leadership, who I've had the great fortune to observe and learn from. And so I strive to provide the audience with the best of that which I have received. And what I share is not always what I've mastered, but it's a lesson in it for me as well. So I want to thank you so much for joining me week after week. And if this is your first time listening to the Nora Speaks podcast, I do encourage you to subscribe and or perhaps listen to this episode first and decide for yourself if it's worth being a subscriber of and listening week after week, or going back and listening to previous episodes. But please listen and give consideration to the message that's shared here. As you heard in the opening, this is a show really for our people, it's for Black people, so that we can have a vehicle or an alternative in media where we can have a message that's meant for us, that specifically addresses the needs and the circumstances that we exist in today, so that we can produce better for our tomorrow and for our young people. So please listen. You can leave a rating or a review. I would ask those who listen on Apple Podcasts, please do leave a rating and a review there. Let me know what you think about the podcast. And if you listen on other apps, Spotify, you can, leave comments there. Castbox, you can leave comments there. Wherever you listen, I encourage you, just let me know what you think. You can email me at info@noraspeaks.com, info@noraspeaks.com. And of course, you can follow on social media, on Facebook and Instagram. In this episode, just getting to it now, in this episode, I encourage us all not to be an April's fool. This episode will be released on April 1st. And as I was thinking, what should I share with the audience? Usually there are numerous episodes or subjects that I already have on deck. And so, which should be shared which week. And so this week I decided to use this message. Don't be in April's fools. And what do I mean by that? With every season, we find retailers are using the season or the circumstances of the season, the holidays of the season, to pitch their ads, to encourage us to consume their products. They use the season and those activities within the season to entice our spending. And, you think about the spring colors, yellow, green, pink, and the baby blues. And so you'll see that advertisers, whether that's Target, whether that's Walmart, Macy's, right? You'll see the advertisers using, spring flowers in their ads. They're using the colors that we associate with the season to encourage our spending. I'm sure there's going to be the spring car sales event that's going to be coming up, and GMC or Honda or Toyota or Ford will be, marketing their 2024 vehicles, so that we can, take advantage of spring sales, right? You'll see cell phone commercials and young people having fun on a beach or on vacation. Stores will have their spring dresses and blouses and sneakers. And so it's important that we pay attention to how they tie in the ads, even with seasonal events. So, NCAA college basketball championship is right now, right? So we see the Gatorade ads, the sneaker ads, and we see car brands, partnering with the NCAA in their marketing, and so they make it fun and they make it lively so that we will be encouraged to open up our wallets. Although many of us are still overextended from the Christmas and the Christmas season, the holiday season, right? So we're still overextended from that. And then, Easter was yesterday, and, we had to go out and buy spring dresses and pastel suits, so that we can be fresh for Easter and Easter brunch and Easter service in church, and so now we have our spring ads coming through. So just be thoughtful. A sale season can be a time to take advantage of when there are things that we might need. But if there are things that we don't need to have, don't be so persuaded, or we should try not to be so persuaded when these ads hit. And, I think about some of the things that I've seen, advertised. And, the question that we should ask ourselves is, do I have to purchase what I already own? Right. And so when you watch the commercial, you'll see, the Apple, for example, or Samsung, trying, or Google for that matter, like all of them have their phones, trying to get us excited about the new features in the new object, although the phone that we have now is working and it's fine, or it's good enough. The additional features that they show, did we really need it? Like, was our lives really hampered by not having all of the new features in the new iPhone, the new Galaxy, the new Google phone? I doubt it. The new features are certainly appealing, interesting, probably fun to use. But, do I need to go into another 2-year contract of a, $1,500 cell phone? $1,500 is what we spend for our cell phone. Is that really something I have to do? It's probably not something that we need to do, So before we get into buying the big television or the new patio furniture, is your patio furniture still in good repair? Maybe you just need to wipe it down, clean it up, give it a nice spring cleaning perhaps. But, the patio chairs or the deck chairs that you have may be fine. Do we need new flower pots? Maybe you need a couple, but do you need a lot? Maybe not. So, think about it. The new sunglasses, right? The new pocketbooks, the new bracelets, the new earrings. Do we need them? And we should ask ourselves before we're making these decisions, do we need it? I encourage us to really be judicious in our spending, be conservative in our spending. I shouldn't say most of us, many of us may still be impacted by the financial challenges that we experienced during the pandemic. And shucks, maybe many of us were deep in debt even before the pandemic. So we have to know what marketers know. They know that we want to feel better. And so their commercials entice us, they lure us, and they attract us to use their products, to purchase their products, because they understand our psychology better than we do. They know us better than we know ourselves. They understand our habits because they've given us our habits. So every Valentine's Day, we know that we are supposed to buy new jewelry for, men go buy jewelry for their wives or their girlfriends. And now there's Galentine's Day. So now the women all go to brunch together, right? So they're giving us our habits. So they certainly understand us. They know our triggers. They know how to stoke us emotionally, tie us, and it's never good. It's not the best way to make a decision emotionally, but they incorporate emotions into the decisions. And if anyone who's ever bought a car, they ask you so many questions about yourself, and then they use it against you. So I'll give you an example. There's a vehicle that I was really interested in, not interested in purchasing, but I wanted to check it out. So I went to a dealership and I said I would like to test drive this vehicle. Now, the vehicle I have is great. It's in good repair. I like it. Causes me no problems, and I'm certainly not in need of one. And I'll say it's a great position to not need anything and to know you don't need it. So when I go in and I asked to purchase the vehicle, the gentleman is asking me about my family, asking me about my life, and do I have children? Of course, they want to incorporate your children. Your children will love to sit in this, and this will be great. You can fit the stroller. And so they get to know us so that they can sell to the customer that they have. And so this particular salesman, he talked about his wife and his adolescent son, linking his life to mine. And he spoke about his wife so much during the test drive. And I'm just like, dude, I get what you're trying to do, but I don't need this car. I don't need this vehicle. I just want to feel the ride. And the ride was nice. And so, he was like really, really trying to urge me to bring my car in, let them, give them the keys and let them bring the car in to assess the value of my car so that it could be used as a trade. Giving me the whole deal. And I said, dude, I didn't say, dude, sir, I don't need a car. I just wanted to test drive it. I'm thinking about the future. This might be a vehicle that I get in the future. And so the future is not now. So give me my license back and I will leave. And so when you're at a car dealership, be thoughtful about even turning over your driver's license, because other customers may tell you that they will hold on to your license. Now they'll say, "Can I get your license so that I can make a photocopy for your test drive?" And you got to be thoughtful because they'll hold on to that thing, and you'll be asking for it, and you can't leave without you can leave without your driver's license, but they really want to hold on to it because they want to persuade us to make a decision. How much are your payments now? We can fit you in. And so now they're talking about car payments. They're not talking about the bottom line, because a car payment is not the bottom line. The bottom line involves interest, right? And fees and taxes, right? But all the consumer is thinking about, well, if I can have the same car payment as I have now, so they understand how to get us tied to something emotionally so that we are more likely to buy. And corporations and their shareholders will remain wealthy and powerful because we powerlessly and unconsciously are led to the slaughterhouse of debt. And so we have to be very thoughtful about that. So I encourage the listeners, don't be an April's fool. Marketers want us to not think, just buy. I say, think before you buy. You work hard for your money. Let's keep our money as much as, we earn to ourselves and perhaps as a legacy for our future, and invest in our future. And we clearly see that corporations and shareholders are investing in their futures. They're being wise. We also have to be wise. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Nora Speaks podcast. Don't be an April's fool and stay in peace.
We were brought here as a piece of property and to keep that piece of property, it is to not allow the property to know the value of the property. What I mean by that, if you had known the history of yourself, you would not have been made a slave. And you won't be a slave now if you have a knowledge of yourself. It's hard to enslave a person that have equal knowledge with you. You just can't do it. And so this knowledge of yourself is the thing that will free you from what you have been suffering from.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Nora Speaks podcast. Be on the lookout for a new episode coming at you fresh next week. And as always, if you want to learn more about me and the work that I do, visit my website, norahmuhammad.com. Or if you have a listener question, email me at info@norahspeaks.com. You can also follow the Nora Speaks podcast on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Nora Speaks Podcast. I'll be sure to include links in the show notes. If this show has value to you, please subscribe, rate, and review, and share it with family and friends. And be sure to check out previous episodes. And remember, don't just join the movement, be the movement. Stay in peace.